Guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. And yes, this is real life. I just woke up and I'm gonna get started on dinner for this evening because it's going in the crock pot. If you're new here, hi and welcome. You'll get used to this if you decide to subscribe. If you've been here for a while, then you know that I just don't care anymore. So let me turn you around and I'll start showing you what we're making for dinner this evening in this whole video that will be a week worth of dinner ideas. So for dinner tonight, I'm going to be making up a chicken and salsa mixture. So I'm just doing it in my crock pot. I'm going to put it on low for 8 hours. And I've got 6 chicken breasts in here. You do as many or as little as you want. So I think we're going to do up taco salads tonight. Just use up some leftover tortilla chips that we have on hand. Yeah, super easy. Like I said, low for 8 hours in your slow cooker, your crock pot. And if you do enough of it, you'll have leftovers for a couple of days, which is my personal favorite because that means I don't gotta cook. To the rest of this mixture, I'm gonna do 1 can of black beans. Of course, you can use whatever beans you like, or you can opt out of the beans altogether. But I've got mine rinsed off, so let me just go ahead and pour that all in. And I did give my chicken and salsa a good shushing around just to make sure everything's fairly well coated, but it's not gonna really matter that much once we shred the chicken. And then to all of this, I'm also going to add 1 bag of full kernel sweet corn. Okay, and now it's ready to go on low for 8 hours. And that is what my taco bowl is looking like. I've got sour cream, shredded mozzarella cheese, white queso cheese, lettuce, my chicken, bean, and corn mixture, some ranch dressing, and some enchilada sauce. I'm going to top it all with my chips, and that'll be dinner for this evening. So for today's meal, we're doing up something that's new for me, but it looks delicious in the recipe, and that is a cheeseburger or hamburger and potato au gratin. So right now in here I've got 2 pounds of ground beef cooking. I have added a healthy dose. I eyeball my seasonings, they're all to taste. I did a healthy dose of basil leaves, minced onion. I added some garlic salt, and I added some steak seasoning. So we've got all of that cooking, and in here I have water coming to a boil with 1 beef bouillon cube, and it's about half a cup of water. So we're gonna let all of this cook. While this is all cooking, I'm gonna get my potatoes out and get them washed and start chopping. So I went ahead and turned the heat off of my meat. I think it is important to note that you don't wanna cook it all the way. As you see, I still have some spots that have some pink to them. That's okay, because they're gonna be going in the crock pot on high for 6 hours. So don't overcook your meat because you're going to keep cooking it in the crock pot. Okay, so I'm going to start slicing my potatoes with a mandolin to get them nice and thin. You can slice these by hand with a knife, and it said 6 large potatoes. I didn't have very many large potatoes left, so we're going to do a handful of these tiny guys and my 3 decent ones. Now that we got our potatoes chopped up, it's time to start the layering. So on the bottom of my crock pot, I went ahead and sprayed everything with a little bit of non-stick cooking spray, just because we are going to be using cheese, and cheese can get a little bit sticky. So we're just going to take a handful and just do a nice little layer on the bottom. And this is completely to taste and completely whatever you feel like doing. I've seen some recipes where people do potatoes and then the burger, and they just layer potato, burger, and cheese on top. I've seen other people who layer with their onions, so like a layer of potatoes, a layer of ground beef, a layer of onion, a layer of cheese. I've seen people who have cooked their meat with their onion, and so they don't have an onion layer. So it's really just whatever you think is going to taste best, but we're going to do a thin layer of potato, and then I'm going to do a thin layer of cheese, and then meat, and then potato, cheese, and meat. So I'll show you guys when we're closer to done. And on each layer of potatoes, I am going to sprinkle some of my seasonings, just because there's nothing on them. If I'd thought about it, it'd be a good idea just to go ahead and mix up my seasoning on my potatoes right here. So I might go ahead and do that to just make things easier. So this is what mine is looking like now that I've got everything layered. I started off with potato, burger, cheese, potato, burger, cheese. You get the gist. And I ended up with a top layer of potato and cheese. So now I'm going to go ahead and pour my ½ cup of beef broth, or you could even use store-bought. It doesn't have to be a bouillon cube. Whatever you want to use. This is going to help give everything flavor, but you don't want too much moisture in here because it's supposed to be a casserole. But you need a little something in there to help with cooking and to help with your potatoes. So there it is, and we will put it on low or high for 4 hours. So ready to go. This is what it looks like once it's done. It is super tasty. I definitely recommend. But I kind of feel like it needs a little something extra with it. Maybe a dollop of sour cream, or I don't know, maybe some mushrooms added. It's really good, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I feel like maybe even just a smaller bowl of this and like maybe a side of green beans. Like, again, really good, would recommend, but definitely needs a little something extra with it. Today I'm gonna show you guys how to make chicken bites. I don't know what else to call these. So let's just go ahead and go over the ingredients. Here I have 6 chicken breasts. Mine were frozen. I just thawed them out and chopped them into bite-sized pieces. Remember that when you cook your chicken, the meat is gonna shrink up. So these might look relatively big right now, but as they cook, they are going to get smaller. So what I've done here is I've already dredged mine through some flour. Pretty simple. I think in total for all 6 chicken breasts, I think I used about a cup of flour roughly. You can eyeball it, see what you need. I use my hands. I toss it in there, mix it up, use my hands. Next, I'm going to dredge mine through some eggs, and then I'm going to dredge it through some breadcrumbs. I have the Italian style breadcrumbs, but you use whatever kind you have on hand and you like. After I've cooked my chicken, I am going to then toss it in this Parmesan garlic sauce that we have from Buffalo Wild Wings, but you can use whatever kind of sauce you want. Barbecue would be very good. So let's go ahead and dredge it through some eggs and some breadcrumbs, and I'm going to pop mine in the fridge to set for, well, honestly, I'm going to cook this for dinner tomorrow. I'm just prepping it. But I'd say at least let it set for 30 minutes to chill and kind of help everything like stick together. It'll help with the frying process. But do not put anything in the oven. Excuse my dog. No, what I meant was do not put anything in the freezer and then try to fry it. You can hurt yourself. So anyways, let's go ahead and do the eggs and then do the breadcrumbs. So I'm going to try something that I've never done before, but you know what? Being in the kitchen is all about experimenting. So I'm going to toss my chicken into this bowl. Then I'm going to take my eggs. I've got 3 eggs here. I think 4 would probably be better, but this is what I have on hand. And we're just going to pour it all over top, just like so. And then I'm going to toss this around like shake and bake. And then I'm going to take my breadcrumbs. And we're going to do the exact same thing because I'm a bit lazy and I don't feel like messing with it. We're just going to throw it all in one bowl. Something tells me that didn't quite turn out perfect with the breadcrumbs. Maybe it's too big of a batch. But this does give me a fair start. So I'm going to add a few more breadcrumbs here. And I'm going to make sure everything is well coated so that we have no wet sticky egg spots, just like such. And I'm going to put it over here in a glass jar so I can pop it into my refrigerator for tomorrow. So we got some eggy spots here, so we just need to make sure everything is well covered. Okay, so this is what the chicken looks like next day after it has been fried up. It's set up okay overnight in the refrigerator. Again, I wouldn't worry more than doing it for half an hour, letting it sit and chill and kind of set together. My husband went ahead and cooked it in our air fryer. How long did you cook it for, and what temp did you put it on?
350. 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay, there you go. It's turned out perfect. It tastes delicious. It's nice and crispy and juicy, and so far seems to be cooked all the way through. And so he's made us up some rice to go with it for our meal, and we're going to toss it all with some garlic Parmesan sauce. So it should be super tasty. So for tonight's dinner, we are making up some shrimp fried rice. I have never made any kind of a stir-fried rice before, but it should be pretty easy, I hope. So on the bottom of here, I have roughly 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. I've got a whole mess of shrimp. They are already deveined and shelled. Then I've got a frozen bag of mixed vegetables. As you can see, it's corn, peas, green beans, and carrots. I'm really trying to cook with what I have on hand. I didn't want to go to the store for anything else, and I just wanted to use up some things I had sitting around. So far, that's everything that's in the pot. I do have a mess of soy sauces and chili sauce from Panda Express. Anybody else hoard sauce packets? I do. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to use these up. It's the Kikimon soy sauce and the chili sauce. Then I have some leftover corn, so we'll add that into the pot. It'll just be having lots of extra corn in it. And then I've got about 2 servings worth of white rice here from our dinner yesterday. And I thought I had another serving of rice in the refrigerator, but I'm not finding it. So I may have to make some more up if that is not enough. And then I will also add in 2 to 3 eggs as we go. So right now I'm just letting my shrimp cook and my frozen veggies cook. And I will pop back in with you when it's time to add the rice. Also, I did add some minced onion and also some garlic salt for seasoning. So if you guys have ever made stir-fried rice before and there's any seasonings I'm missing out on, please let me know, because I've never made this dish before. So yeah, anyways, we're gonna let this cook down, and then I'll get back with you when it's time to add the rice. As I have this cooking down, I'm realizing that we are getting quite a bit of water down at the bottom of the pan. Stir-fried rice, in my experience from eating it, tends to be a much drier dish. So I'm going to go ahead and throw my rice in here and see if that rice can't help soak up that extra water in the bottom. And then I'm also going to throw in my corn, because I'm sure it's going to release some extra moisture. So we'll just go ahead and throw what we have all in the pot. And then I also have some rice vinegar. This is a brand new thing for us. My husband had a sauce he tried making the other day. I did not film it for you guys. So I've never cooked with this stuff before. And so I don't know if I got the right kind or not. It says it's mild and sweet. So I just feel like, you know, maybe this would be a good thing to add in. So we're just going to add a little drizzling, I guess, for flavor. And I'll go back with you guys here in a moment. So I went ahead and made my scrambled eggs up in a separate frying pan. I know technically this should have been done up in a wok, all of it, but I do not own a wok. So I'm going to transfer the stuff from here. There's my crumb, baby. I'm going to transfer the food from here into the frying pan to try to cook some more of this liquid out. Suppose I should have done this from the get-go. We'll see what comes of it. I have no idea what I'm doing. So now that I've got things thinned out in both pans a little bit, I guess this one's a pot, I'm just taking my spatula and flipping it every now and then to try to aerate the pot. I know with a wok you would shake it and do that like flipping motion. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. Again, I don't have a wok, and I feel like that flipping of the food probably just helps to aerate it. There's probably a good reason for it. So I'm hoping to replicate whatever that does by gently folding everything in on itself. And we're definitely trying to get some of that frying going on. However, I've come to the conclusion that I've made way too much food. So who wants to come over for dinner? We will be having shrimp fried rice for the next couple of nights in a row. So hopefully we like it. So here it is now that it is done. I've added in all of my chili sauce and soy sauce. I wasn't sure it would be enough. I'm still not. I haven't tasted it yet. But I have high hopes. Higher hopes than I did before I started adding it in. So let's give it a little taste test. Excuse my appearance. I just got out of the shower. So let's give this a little bite. Whew. It's got a little heat to it. I wouldn't imagine 3 packets of chili sauce would give it that much heat, but good lord. I'm also a weenie. I don't do heat well. But it has good flavor. The rice really misses that toasted flavor that you get when it's done correctly, like in a wok. I've had plenty of fried rice. Okay, I've never made it myself. The shrimp tastes good. So, overall, pretty tasty. Would definitely recommend. If you guys have any suggestions for more seasonings and spices that aren't necessarily super spicy, or hot, I should say. I like flavor. I don't like heat. Let me know in the comments. And then we also have some yum yum sauce. Sorry about my baby. I think he's just needing a nap. He's just hitting a wall here. So we have some yum yum sauce. If I can find it, I will show it to you. And we will drizzle that on top of our fried rice. And this is super yummy. If you've not tried it, you need to get some yum yum sauce. Oh, it's amazing. So that's it for dinner today. And I'll check in with you guys in a few days from now. So for dinner today, we are going to be having a loaded potato soup. I definitely encourage cooking with what you have. So what this calls for is some russet potatoes. I think I've probably got, I don't know, 3 cups here, maybe 4 cups of potatoes. I'm just using up the rest of what I had on hand, and these are just russet potatoes. It says 2 cups of chicken broth. So I'm going to use bouillon cubes to do that. I've got my spices. So I like to add steak seasoning to my potato soup.
I'm going to do this.
And then
this.
I've got some garlic salt. And I've got some minced onion. I've also got my little sous chef here. He cannot wait to help put things in the pot. He's excited. It also calls for a brick of cream cheese. I like to add corn to potato soup. So that's just something I'm throwing in. It's not really called for in the recipe. It also calls for like a couple cups of sharp cheddar cheese. My cheddar cheese is still frozen, so I'm gonna do 1 cup of Colby Jack cheese, or I guess this is the Fiesta blend. But personally, I can't tell the difference.
I'm gonna eat it
in a moment. And then it also says that you need to do bacon. I do not have any bacon on hand, but I've done this recipe before with smoked sausage. Breakfast sausage would also work well. And then I've also done ham, so I'm gonna chop this up and put it in a frying pan to give it a nice little sizzle to it, and then toss it on in here. So, you want to go ahead and start putting potatoes in?
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead and put potatoes in the pot.
Water in there.
Not yet. We gotta put all the potatoes in the pot.
And it floats.
Yep, they might float a little. Okay, so I took a decent chunk of ham, probably about 1/4 of my package here. So I'm gonna take all this, I've cubed it all up, and we're gonna throw it into my frying pan, which got a little bit of oil, just a nice little coating on the bottom, and I've got it heating up. So we're just gonna pan fry this ham really quickly. Sorry, my baby is having a fit. If you're curious about this, I cooked chicken and I'm soaking the pan because it's got bits in it that need to come out. So we're just going to head and throw all this into the frying pan. And we're just going to fry up these bits of ham. You use whatever meat you have on hand. Again, it calls for bacon, but you could use turkey, lunch meat. I'm so sorry. I know that's probably awful to listen to. He's mad because we're all in here without him. But this guy will head right for the dog bowl and make a giant mess, so he can't come in. So yeah, just use whatever meat you have on hand. You could even use chicken if you want to use chicken breasts or chicken thighs, whatever you want to use. Okay, so while our ham is frying up in the pan, you can see it's getting some really nice color to it, nice and fried. Oh, I start talking and the baby starts crying. It's like, here's me. So we're going to go ahead and let Levi add in the corn.
I'm so excited! I'm adding the corn.
Since I can find my scissors.
I'm adding the corn.
And this is just a bag of frozen corn. You could also use canned corn, whatever you want to use. Okay, put it in the pot. No. Dump the whole thing. Just pick up the package and dump it in. Don't do it one by one. There we go. Pour it in. Good job. Okay, and then on top of that, you want to go ahead and add your water.
Yes.
Okay, be careful. Use both hands. Woo, there it went. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and do 4 cups of water, so I'm going to get some more.
Whoa! There's more water to cut the float?
Okay, you want to add that in or you want mommy to?
Add it.
Okay, both hands. There we go. Okay. So that gives us 4 cups of water. That's more than enough. And now we're going to go ahead and add in our spices. You want to shake that in?
Yes.
Shake it in. And mommy's going to add in some onion. We'll just let him go to town with that because that's the good stuff. Well, I guess he's done. Not much. Okay, go ahead and add the rest of that in. There's not a whole lot in there. Good job. Mommy put some more steak seasoning in. Okay, and then I'm also gonna add 2 chicken bouillon cubes.
I do this.
And Levi's gonna go ahead and add in our chicken bouillon cubes. We decided to go ahead and do 3 of them just because we have 4 cups of water. And then our ham is getting some great color here. It's really starting to crisp up. We're gonna let that go a few more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and add the ham in.
Yep.
Okay, so Levi's gonna give this a good stir. Get in there and just stir it up.
I'm doing a great job.
You are doing a fantastic job.
I'm getting the potatoes in.
Yep, you are getting the potatoes in. So we just want to get everything nicely mixed and all the spices off the side.
Add the water. Is it floating?
The biggest thing is make sure these bouillon cubes are down in the water so that they can dissolve. That's really the biggest thing we need to make sure it's going on.
They went in the water. Look, all the cheese.
So we have our ham in. I cubed up the cream cheese and tossed that in. It's 1 brick. And then I've got 2 cups of Fiesta blend cheese in here as well. We're going to pop this in the little crock over here and do low for 8 hours. So this is what the potato soup looks like now that it's done. We've already taken out our servings. So we've already got this over here and add a little extra cheese on top for topping. The one thing I didn't like with the cream cheese is that parts of it stayed on top, and so you end up with like little chunks here and there, like little gritty bits. So I don't know how it's going to taste. I'm sure it'll taste fine, but I don't think it mixed in super well. So I'm not really sure what you would do about that to make the cream cheese melt and mix better with everything. But otherwise, it looks pretty good, and we're excited to eat. Here's a quick little bonus meal I'm going to share with you guys, just if you need a very fast, easy dinner. I was originally going to do a beef stew, but then realized it takes 3 hours of simmering. So we're going to make that in the crock pot tomorrow. So for a quick meal, because I did not plan accordingly, we are doing a chicken and broccoli pasta dish. You can pick these up at Aldi. They are less than $1. They come with the pasta, the seasoning mix, and some tiny little broccoli florets along with cheese, and the broccoli florets are dehydrated. So what I do when I'm cooking everything is I add in a bag of frozen broccoli and just let it all cook when I put the water in the pot. So it cooks with it the whole time, and then take a pair of scissors and I go in and I rough chop everything so they don't have like massive chunks of broccoli. Otherwise, do everything exactly the same. Calls for 1 pound of chicken. I just did 1 piece of chicken per person, and I'm going to use scissors to cut this up and just toss it into here really quickly. I like using scissors on my meat because it's easier. I'm able to take a fork, stick it in here, hold it over my pasta, and use scissors and just cut it off into my pasta and then mix it all up. So, quick, easy meal. The seasoning I have on this, I believe, came from the Dollar Tree. Let me see if I can find it. So, this is this came from the Dollar Tree, but they also sell the same brand at Aldi, but it's going to be in a smaller container. And I have not seen it in big containers at Dollar Tree in a while, so, check there, but otherwise you can find this at Aldi. So, as roasted garlic and herb is what I topped my chicken with, and it smells heavenly. So, I'm going to chop this up, add it to my cheesy chicken skillet dinner, and yeah, that's going to be our quick and easy meal because I did not plan ahead. So today we're going to be making some crock pot beef stew, but before we can put it in the crock pot, we got to kind of get things going on the stove. So I'm going to start off by heating a little bit of oil in a pan. A few tablespoons there. Might be a little bit more than that on accident. And turn that up. You want to get that nice and going. I do want to give a little shout out here to Laura Vitale. She is a huge YouTuber, so I'm sure you know who she is. But this recipe is loosely based off of a recipe that she shared. So it's kind of what I'm basing mine off of. I've never made this before. So my little helper over here, you say hi? Yeah. He helped me chop everything up. So we've got a bowl here with our veggies here. So we have baby carrots. Use whatever you have on hand, you guys. That's what I'm doing with this recipe. So I have baby carrots. I had some frozen pieces of celery from, actually left over from a veggie tray that we had this summer. Pop those in the freezer for cooking later. Some chopped mushrooms. I just like nice bite-sized pieces. And then russet potatoes would probably work best, but my supermarket only had red potatoes in stock, so we're using red potatoes. So that's what we have for our veg. For the meat, normally you would use a stew meat, a beef stew meat. What I have on hand here is a beef brisket. So that's what we're gonna try this out with. So my pan here is heating up, and it's gonna be ready here soon to toss my beef in. On top of that, you're going to need 2 cups of beef broth. So I've already made mine on the stove. I just used the beef bouillon cubes. And then you're gonna need 1 cup of red wine. I've since learned that they make red cooking wine. I've never really cooked with wine before. So I just picked up the cheapest wine at my grocery store, and we're gonna try it out. We'll see what happens. So that's kind of what's gonna happen here. So we're gonna pop this all in, and we wanna get it all nice and cooked for about 5 minutes per side. So we're gonna let this go, tossing it here and there until it gets a nice crunch, or nice outer shell, I suppose you'd call it. So roughly 5 minutes per side as it go in the pot. So to my meat, I'm gonna go ahead and add some steak and chop seasoning. I just think this is gonna taste super good. Just give it all a good toss in here, and I have my my timer on for 5 minutes. So I'm probably gonna cook it for 10 minutes in total, just kind of tossing it here and there. We'll see. Maybe I'll do only 5. I don't know. Just until we get a nice caramelization going on the meat is what we're looking for. And I love cooking with steak seasoning. Oh my gosh, if I'm using any kind of red meat, I'm probably putting steak seasoning on it. In total, my meat has been cooking for about 10 minutes. It is not getting that like caramelization look to it that I was expecting, kind of like what you get with a steak. I am finding this to be a much tougher cut of meat. I never realized that about brisket before. I guess I normally do them in the crock pot, so they cook low and slow and turn out beautifully. But we are going to do this in the crock pot anyway. So now we've got this nice cook started on it. I'm going to go ahead and put this into a separate bowl to add to the crock pot later. And we've got all these lovely meaty flavors here in the pot. I did go ahead and switch it from the big pots into my, because I felt like my meat in the larger pot was just didn't have enough surface area to cook on. So I'm gonna go ahead, like I said, set this aside, scoop all these juices here into my big pot, and we'll get started on our vegetables. Okay, while I have my oils and beef fat heating back up along with the steak seasoning that's already in the pot, I'm going to go ahead and add some basil. I'm just going to put the rest that's already in here. The reason we're going to do it here to the oils and the fats is that way as the seasonings start to cook down and release, it's going to infuse into the oils and give a really beautiful flavor. So, got my basil in there, and this is a garlic salt mixture that I made myself, so we will see how well that works. I think it kind of packed down in there, I'm not sure. But that's going to work super well. If you wanted to use fresh garlic, this would definitely be a good time to add it in. Or if you wanted to use whole onions, you could also toss those in. I am going to use onion flakes in a moment. Let me bring that down a bit. Give it a good stir. And then I'm going to also use up the rest of my onion flakes. Again, I just want to cook with what I have on hand. And we are not big onion eaters like the flavor. We don't like big bites. So just toss the rest of that on in there. Let this have a low simmer for all the flavorings. Okay, so that is what everything is kind of looking like in the pot. And I'm going to go ahead and toss my vegetables in. I'm going to go ahead and toss my, go ahead and put my heat up a little bit higher, and we're just going to give everything a good toss in the oils and the seasoning just to make sure it all starts to mix together. Okay, so you can see how all of the oils and the spices have started to coat my veg. And so we're just gonna give it a few moments to kind of cook and, you know, do its thing just for a few moments. And we're gonna add in a little bit of flour to start making a roux and absorbing some of the extra oils. Okay, we've got a nice sizzle going, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a few tablespoons of flour here. Sprinkle it all in. Just gonna do 3 to start and just kind of eyeball it. Make sure we're getting all those oils absorbed. That's really the point of flour here, is going to absorb all of the oils. And then as you add your beef stock and your red wine, it is going to create like a kind of like a sauce to it, I suppose you might call it. But it's not going to be super liquidy like soup. This is going to give it a thickness, which is going to make it the stew. So that's about 4 tablespoons of flour, roughly. And you could also use cornstarch if you don't have any flour on hand. Okay, to this I'm going to go ahead and add my beef stock. And I'm just going to do 1 cup, I think.
Is it Halloween?
Not anymore, bud.
Not yet. Shall we
get this all nice and mixture, and as the beef stock and the flour come together and thicken, you're going to get that nice thick sauce going on. I'm going to go ahead and add my red wine. Again, they make a cooking wine. I just wasn't aware.
Red wine?
And we're going to let that simmer a little bit. Just let everything kind of come together. So I did 1 cup of beef broth and 1.5 cup of red wine. It also calls for some tomato paste. I do not have any tomato paste, but what I do have is some leftover marinara sauce from Little Caesar's Crazy Bread last night. So we're just gonna throw that in and see how that works out. I know it's got extra flavor and seasoning to it that would not be called for, but I like to use what I have on hand, and so that's just what we're gonna do. And this is just about the right amount for what the recipe calls for. Maybe a little extra. But I don't know what else we're gonna use this for, so throw it in the pot. And then we're ready to put everything into the crock pot. So if this is not something you're gonna have time to do in the morning, because our veggies are definitely not cooked. If you don't have time to do this in the morning, I would definitely suggest, or say, like, you could do the hard work part of this here the night before, and then put it all into your crock pot, cover the crock of your crock pot and put that into the refrigerator. And then in the morning you could take that out and put it into the cooking appliance of your crock pot and go ahead and do it that way. Because these veggies, if you're gonna do it on the stove, you have to cook them on a low simmer for like 3 hours. So I don't want to sit here and watch this on a stove for 3 hours, so we're gonna put it in the crock pot on low for 4 hours, or maybe, I don't know, we'll say low for 6. That should be about dinner time. And I think that'll work out beautifully. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss my meat in. Get some of those flavors mixing and mingling really quickly while it's all on a low boil. I mean, it already looks like a stew. It smells amazing. That red wine I used definitely has a strong scent to it. If you've never cooked with a wine before, just know that the alcohol will cook out of it. It's just for flavor. And if you don't want to use the alcohol, just use extra beef stock. So I would say 1.5 cups of beef stock if you don't want to use the red wine. But I've never cooked with red wine, or at least it's been a year since I have, and I wanted to try it. So we'll give it a go and see how it turns out.
Hey, Mom.
Okay, that is looking pretty good. Nice and beef stew-esque. Give you guys a closer look to it. It's definitely looking like beef stew to me. So we're gonna toss this into our crock pot, like I said, on low for the next 6 hours, and dinner will be ready this evening. So this is what the beef stew is looking like now that it's done. It went for 6 hours on low in the crock pot. I did go ahead and add 1 more cup of beef broth, and I wish I hadn't because it made it quite liquidy, so I would skip that. Just a 1/2 cup of wine, and the 1 cup of beef broth should be plenty. But I had a bite of this already. It tastes amazing. The only downside is that I would probably get an actual stew meat. Don't use the brisket. It turned out kind of chewy. It's got a nice buttery flavor. Tastes amazing, but it's chewy. It just wasn't a good meat for this. But otherwise, super delicious. Okay, I hope you guys are ready for the last meal in this video. What is this lighting? I am so sorry. If you watch me, you know there's never good lighting in my kitchen. I'm always backlit by something. That's for the window. I can't win. So today we are going to be having some French onion dip sandwiches. I believe it's what it's called, along with some stuffed mushrooms. So let's go ahead and go everything we need for the mushrooms, and then we'll get into the French dip sandwiches. Okay, for the mushrooms, you're going to need some bacon. I don't care what kind you use. Your choice. Dealer's choice. Dealer's pick. Get whatever bacon you like. I'm doing roughly half a pack, so that's what we all got going on. I cut them in half, and you want to get them extra crispy, or pretty dang crispy, because we're going to, you know, cut them all up and mix them in with the cheese. Honestly, mine could probably go a little bit longer, but you know what? That habits die hard. I never make my bacon that crispy, so whatever. I like to pour my bacon grease off as I go. So I did a batch of bacon, poured my grease. Otherwise, you just end up with a lot of grease in the pot. And then once it's cool, I'll pour it on my dog's food. He will appreciate it. So, yes, bacon. You need 1 pack of cream cheese, and you're going to want it soft so it's pliable. I have my oven heating up to 350 degrees. And while my oven has been heating and I've been cooking here, I've got my brick of cream cheese sitting on the stove so that it can kind of soften up with all the heat. It'll kind of, you know, warm it up a little bit, because mine just came right out of the fridge. If you're a cook like me and you don't think about laying things out beforehand, it's one nice little trick. You can just sit it on the stove as your stove is warming up and you're cooking everything. So go ahead and give this all a real quick flip. And the reason I'm doing mine here in a pot is because next, after this, I'm going to do my French dip sandwiches, you know, the filling for it. And so having all the bacon grease and all the bacon little niblets down in there, it's going to be super tasty for the sandwich. We're going to use that for cooking later. Otherwise, I would use a traditional frying pan. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to, by all means. You can even do it in the oven. You do your bacon however you want. But that right there, my friends, is some good flavor. So I'm going to pour off what's in here into this pot once it's done. But better believe there's still going to be a little bit left down in that pan, and I want it in my French onion soup. So moving on over here to the mushrooms. We had some leftover steak fries from dinner the other night, so I'm going to heat these up to go with it. There's like 3 or 4 fries left in here. Like enough for each person to have maybe 2 or 3. So anyways, you don't need to worry about that. Just letting you know what it is in case you're curious. And then my cream cheese. It's just normal cream cheese from Great Value, but you use whatever you want. You can use the light. You can use name brand. You use whatever you want. Just, you know, 1 brick of cream cheese. Anyway, mushrooms. My mushrooms are, I don't even know what they are. They're the cheapest thing at the store. That's what mine are. Package says white mushrooms. I got these for another recipe earlier this week. I think I might have shared that with you. I can't really remember. But all we're going to do right now is work on popping all the tops off. If you've never popped the top off a mushroom, I'm going to show you how to do it really quickly. It's very easy. And yeah, mine have been in the fridge a day or 2. Fresh mushrooms don't last long. You got to get on them when you buy them. So anyways, popping the top off. I've already washed all my mushrooms, by the way. You're just going to hold it like so and give it a little pop. The fresher they are, the easier they are to pop off. This one is going to give me a struggle. There you go. You just kind of give it a little wiggle back and forth, and it's going to pop right out of there. Some of them are going to come out easier than others. The mushroom stems we're going to set aside because we're going to saute these on their own and also mix them into the cream cheese mixture. So go ahead and pop all these off, and we'll get right back in a moment. Okay, we've got the stems off of all of our mushrooms. I have reserved mine in a bowl. We will chop those here in a second. I went ahead and put a little not olive oil. You can use whatever oil you want. I like to make cooking as simple as possible. Olive oil, probably gonna have better flavor, but like, I worked all day. I don't want to get any fancier than I have to. So, and this is already a pretty fancy dish in my opinion, but I hate to waste food, and these need to get ate. And stuffed mushrooms sounds fabulous. So I went ahead and sprayed my pan down with a little bit of butter flavored cooking spray. And so the top of my mushrooms here, I'm going to give them a quick little spritz with the oil too. You want to get fancy? Use your olive oil. It's going to taste lovely, I'm sure. I don't want to deal with it. So to this, I'm going to add some garlic salt on the top. Nice little sprinkling. Your cheese you're going to add is going to be salty enough, so you don't got to go too heavy-handed. Just enough to give the tops a little bit of flavor. And I like to use garlic salt. You can use onion salt. You can just use regular salt. You don't even got to use salt. Use whatever seasoning you want on top of your mushrooms. Then I'm also going to add a little bit of black pepper. Whoo, that was a lot on that guy. Whew. Didn't realize how quickly it was going to come out. I'll just kind of give him a little rub in there. Make sure he's not too concentrated in any one spot because he got a little heavy-handed and that guy didn't get any at all. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we're just going to flip all of these over and set this off to the side for the moment. And we're going to go saute up our mushroom stems. I did clean the gills out on this one. You can clean them out if you want to. I feel like that's just kind of tedious and I didn't want to mess with it. Okay, I tried it and I'm like, meh, I don't want to mess with it. So if you want to clean the gills out, you can take a spoon and kind of scoop out the gills. The gills are the little brown guys down inside there, but you don't have to. It's not going to affect anything. So let's give these guys all a good rough chop and I'll see you over at my frying pan. So I've already drained my pot, but as you can see, we still have quite a bit of grease down in there and quite a bit of little bacon, whatever you want to call down in there. Some good flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and take 1 tablespoon of my grease. Throw it down in my pot, and I do have my heat on about medium high, somewhere in there. Oh, beautiful bacon. My roughly chopped whatnot, throw that on in. And we're just gonna get that all well and coated in the bacon grease. To this, I'm gonna go ahead and add some garlic salt because I like some garlic salt. Sorry, I should have put you guys on a tripod and I did not. My garlic salt. And then if you have fresh onion, feel free to dice some of that up and throw that in here as well. I'm just going to use minced onion because you're going to watch me for a while. You know, I like onion flavor, but I don't like big bites of onions. That's just not my thing. So I'm just going to put a fair amount in here. But these are pretty much, it's going to give you the onion flavor, but it's going to pretty much, the onions are going to be pretty much dissolved. Like you're not going to get any big bites of onion out of this. Which is how we like it personally. Okay, I've got my mushroom stems on a medium to low heat. Yay so. And I know I've got some bigger chunks in there that are not going to soften nearly as quickly as I would like them to do. So something you can do with this, even if you're sauteing just regular mushrooms, pile them all up in the middle and you can stick a lid on top. That's going to help keep all the moisture in as your mushrooms cook, and it's going to make them nice, soft, and tender. So in a nice sized bowl, I have put my cream cheese. I'm going to go ahead and put you on a tripod. Okay, to this mixture here, or what's going to become a mixture, I'm going to add a couple handfuls of mozzarella cheese. You use whatever cheese you have available to you. I like to cook with what I have on hand. Don't feel like you need to go get anything special for this. If you don't have any bacon on hand, but you have lunch meat, throw that in the skillet and fry it up, and you can add that in too. It won't be as crispy. Just make sure it's finely diced. And then I'm going to add some steak seasoning. Just a fine coating. I am very much an eyeball cook when it comes to things like this. I don't really measure anything. My apologies. And then I'm going to also add some parsley. I love parsley. And I'm also going to add some minced onion. And then my mushrooms. It just takes a few moments with that lid on. My mushrooms are super soft. I want to show these to you really quickly. Okay, I'm hoping the difference is picking up on camera. They are much softer now. I think it shows. They're just super tender now. Like, look, they just mush. They just mush, which is exactly what you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and throw my mushrooms on into the bowl. And the heat from this is really going to help soften my cheese up even more. Don't wash your pan yet. We're still gonna use that. And I'm gonna finally chop my bacon really quickly, and we'll be back in a second. I've got my bacon in the bowl, and everything is all mixed together. At this point, I feel like we can go one of two ways. We can either form it into a ball, cover it in nuts, stick it in the fridge, and we got a cheese ball to eat with crackers, or we can stuff our mushrooms, which is what we're doing today. So, take a nice little teaspoon here, and plop it right on top. You can kind of give it a little push, get it all well infilled in there. I'm sure we will have some leftover filling, that's fine. We're making some delicious sandwiches, and we can definitely spread some of this mixture on our sandwiches. Okay, our mushrooms are all stuffed, so I'm gonna top them each with a little extra mozzarella cheese, and I'm gonna pop them into the oven at 350 for, I don't know. We'll start with 10 minutes and go from there. It's been a while since I've done this recipe, but I'll let you guys know when it's ready. Okay, time to add our meat to our pot. You can use chuck roast. Today I have beef shaved steak. Either one will work pretty well. Thinly sliced steak meat, whatever you want to use. And we're just gonna throw them all in here in the pot, just like so, with all the bacon goo in there already. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of extra bacon grease on top, just a tablespoon, little drizzle in there for a little extra flavor because it tastes good. And I'm gonna add in some minced onion, or that is garlic salt, wrong thing. Some minced onion, and if you have chopped onion, this would be the time to add that, would be your chopped onion, so you can saute it really nicely. And then I'm also gonna add some steak seasoning. And a little parsley, because I like parsley. We're just gonna do this until the meat is pretty much fully cool. A little pink isn't bad in beef, unless you just don't like that. I don't mind a little pink, but need a little more cooked than this. So to my beef mixture, I've added 4 cups of water, and we're gonna bring this to a boil. Once that's boiling, we're gonna add in our onion soup mix. I got mine from Aldi. You can get a 2-pack pretty cheap. And we just gotta bring this to an oil, and we just gotta bring this to a boil and add 1 pack of soup. Okay, in goes the soup mix. We're just gonna give that a good stir.
Okay.
Okay, our soup mixture is going at a nice rolling boil. So I'm gonna take the heat off it and just let it rest for a few minutes. Okay, everything is done and cooked. We're ready to go. So we're gonna go ahead and strain our meat. Now, if you don't have one of these giant ladles, you could easily put a strainer inside of a bowl to catch like your juices, because you want to reserve the soup you made. So you could easily do that and then drain your meat into the strainer and everything will go into your bowl. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and ladle some soup into 2 separate bowls for dipping. You want to get decent sized bowls that you can get your sandwich into. And we're just gonna set these aside so they can start to cool down a little bit. Dog is down there enjoying his bacon grease. Mixed it all in his food. If you got a smaller dog, don't give him too much grease. You know, eyeball it based on your dog's size, but he can handle it. He's a big boy. Okay, I just realized I wasn't filming. So I'm using a couple of sub rolls here. Just what we like. It's what we have on hand. Use whatever you have on hand. I did go ahead and use a serrated knife to cut my rolls. If you use a knife with a even blade across, you're gonna be more likely to chew your bread up. So use the serrated edge of a knife, and you'll have an easier time opening your bread. Sorry, I just realized I wasn't filming. So to my bread, I added mayonnaise, and then I also added our cheese mixture that we made earlier. Now I'm going to add in the meat. Look at that, looks delicious, all the onions, and then the beef, all of that. So we're just gonna layer that on real nice. The The nice thing about this shaved steak is that half the work is done for you. You don't have to cut anything up. And then on top of all of that, I'm going to add some Havarti cheese. Mozzarella would be good, provolone, or just whatever you have on hand. Use what you have.
Mommy, have one.
And I got a little guy here
Mommy, have one.
with his hand out for a piece of cheese.
I want one, thanks.
Yeah, there we go. There is our French dip sandwiches. You've got your soup set aside. You can fold this up all nice and tidy like so. Cut it in half if you so please. Dip it in your soup. And then we'll come over here and have a look at the mushrooms. Okay, my mushrooms went for 20 minutes. What you're looking for is getting a nice golden crisp on top on the cheese. Nice little golden brown action. They're soft. They're toasted. Everything looks amazing. Okay, well that is going to be it for this video, you guys. I hope you really did enjoy. I cannot wait to eat. I am so hungry. I've not eaten since 5 o'clock this morning, so other than a banana around 2 o'clock, like, and it's, I don't know, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I don't know, but I'm ready to eat dinner. So thank you so much for watching. If you've been with me for a long time, thank you for subscribing, hanging out with me, supporting my channel. If you're new, I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Maybe check out my channel, see if there's anything else you'd like to watch. Maybe hit the subscribe button. And I hope to catch you guys in my next video.